Hello, and welcome to the May Ramble. What's going on, y'all? Y'all having fun? Cool. Thanks for watching. So this video is coming at you a little bit later than I usually would have wanted to post it, but that's only because I've just had like a lot going on. Because I filmed this last week, and I thought that I would be able to edit it in a couple days and get it up in a timely manner, but because finals started to pick up, and then I went on vacation after I graduated, and then I came home and I was sick, and I didn't get around to editing it until the other night. And then when I started editing it, I went all the way through it, and then that next day I went to view what I had edited, and it was so bad, like unbelievable, like unbelievably terrible, and I can't believe it. Like because maybe it's because I filmed it so late and it was just kind of a quick thing, but wow. And I know that this is supposed to be a ramble too, but the fact that it was like embarrassingly rambly, where like literally the intro was like 10 minutes, like that is not okay. I'm sorry, that's not okay. So hopefully I'll be able to spice this up real quick and get moving. There was some confusion about what the $10, formerly $15 tier benefits were, because I think that it originally said select the video topic, and I think that some people thought that meant vote, like they're voting on the topic, but to me that meant you get to like actually like, you know, be like, make this hoe, and then I'll put it in the poll for everybody to vote on. So if there was some confusion about what that meant, then cool, hopefully I clarified. So right now I only have one person in the $10 tier. What's up, girl? And she actually suggested the topic for this video. So if you want to maybe have me make your idea, then give me your $10. Actually, hang on, I'm gonna turn these lights on. Y'all wanna see some light? Oh wow, look at that atmosphere. So, this topic was selected by one of my patrons, and I only have one $10 patron, so I guess from here on out it's just gonna be some sort of a dictatorship where she's just gonna pick all of the videos I make. So, that's really fun. And I did add some of my own suggestions to the poll, but I'm hoping that eventually, maybe in a few months, I'll have enough $10 patrons where they'll, you know, fill up the poll as much as possible, and I won't have to add my ideas, because Patreon, to me, the reason I made Patreon was because like I want it to be your thing, you know, like I want it to be a collaborative thing where you want me to talk about something and I'll do it, and like I don't want this to be my platform. I want it to be a collaborative thing, because the videos I make on YouTube are rarely things that anybody wants. So yikes that. But I did have another patron that gave a topic, but it was weird because I posted like, hey, if you have any ideas for the video, like just let me know, and she left like a couple of them. I was like, cool, and I like wrote them down, and then like immediately after she left, so I was like, that seems bogus to me, and I don't think that that should be allowed, so bye, I guess. And I didn't put her suggestions in the poll, which is that shady? But like at the same time, it's almost like, I don't know, that just doesn't seem right. So if you want to have your suggestion be in the poll, don't leave immediately after. And the timing was weird too, because like I was doing it all in the same day, so the fact that like I saw her and I wrote down her suggestions, and then I saw like at that exact time that she had left. The topic that was suggested was nostalgia reads. At least that was how it was said to me in the post that I had made, and I did a lot of thinking. I wrote down a handful of you know, different books and things from when I was younger and from a few years ago that give me a lot of nostalgia, or just were like favorites from back in the day. But the issue that I started to run into was the fact that I didn't have nearly enough to fill out an entire video. It would probably be like 15 minutes, and I don't really want this page to be like 10-minute videos, so I decided to be a bad boy and add some of my own suggestions. So I did add some TV shows. There's only one TV show, so I guess not really. And then I did some music as well. I didn't add any movies because I'm really bad at everything. And also, I didn't really want to make this just me talking about like Harry Potter and things like that, because I feel like those are a given, and also things I've talked about a lot. So I decided to go for like more obscure media that like maybe isn't as common, or maybe not a ton of people are familiar with. The first book that we're gonna mention is the first book that I ever read. I mean, not really, but you know when you're like in first grade and like you know how to read and you read a lot of like picture books that are like 10 or 20 pages and really easy to get through, but then you graduate to like your first chapter book. This book was the first chapter book I ever read, and it was a Magic Treehouse book. And the Magic Treehouse books for me bring so much nostalgia, and I have not read them since I first read them when I was a kid, and I would love to revisit that series because I had so many favorites from that whole series. I loved them so much. There was a Titanic one, which is one of my favorites. I want to reread that one really bad because I'm just curious how this children's book deals with like the hundreds of people that died. The one that I wrote down here, this was the first book that I ever read, I guess, and it was called Carnival at Candlelight, and I just remember like being in my school library and seeing it, and it was like gold, and I liked the look of the little lion. I don't know if I could tell you a single plot point about this book at all because it has been so long, and if you're not familiar with the Magic Treehouse books, like I feel like Magic Treehouse might be like my generation's thing because I don't know, I think they first started being published maybe in like the late 90s, so I'm sure if you're older you're not completely familiar with them. I'm not entirely sure. Basically the Magic Treehouse series is about these two kids whose names are not coming to mind. I think they're Jack and Annie, and their siblings, and they have this magical treehouse, and they go up in their treehouse and they have all these storybooks and all these little like history books and textbooks, and when they start to read from the little books, then they are like transported to that time in history. So every single book would be them going to like the Civil War or like ancient Egypt, and it would be like a history lesson, and they would often sort of learn things as they go. They're very educational and they were actually very enjoyable, and I loved them a lot. They're really, really well done, I think. But then again, that review is coming from somebody who last read one of those books nearly 12 years ago, so I don't really know, I don't really know, but yeah, I liked it. But I remember Carnival at Candlelight. The one thing I remember about this book was being really confused about what was going on because it was a Merlin mission book, which basically, if you're not familiar, which is totally understandable, Magic Treehouse, they sort of went on their individual, like, we're gonna go back to the dinosaurs and ancient Egypt and stuff like that for a while. But then I remember in one of the books they went to like the Order of Merlin or something, and they added like this fantastical element with magic. They like went to Camelot and they met Merlin, and he had given them like a list of riddles or something, and they needed to travel to all these different places and try to figure out these riddles, or they would travel somewhere and then it would connect with the riddle somehow and they'd try to figure all that out. I remember really enjoying that, but I remember Carnival at Candlelight specifically was one of these books, but I remember not having read any of the ones that came before it and just being really confused when they were talking about all these riddles. I really want to buy like a box set of all of that series, and I know that there's like maybe 50 or 60 of them at this point, but I would love to re-get some of my favorite ones that I had read when I was a child, like specifically maybe like Titanic one, or like the dinosaur one, or the ancient Egypt one was one of my favorites, but some of the ones that I was really familiar with when I was a kid. I just remember throughout most of first grade and into second grade, but I feel like during second grade I sort of drifted away from them and moved on to other things, which we'll get to. So next up we have a book that I read in third grade. This is a big series as well, a very beloved series by a lot of people, but I never really got into a lot of them. I feel like I only read this one book and then the sequel to this one book, and I might have read like another one or two of them, but I have a really hard time remembering all of this because it was so long ago. And this book is a Goosebumps book, and the one that I'm talking about was called The Haunted Mask, and I remember I loved this so much. It was so good, and I still like look at it very fondly. Basically the whole idea is it's Halloween, and this girl like does not want to dress up as like a princess or anything, and she wants to like scare like the bullies and stuff like that, like kids that are mean to her. So she's gonna get this freaky mask, and she goes with her friend to like this really sketchy mask store, and she buys this mask, and when she puts it on at home, it like superimposes itself onto her skin, pumpkin and it's like stuck on her, but she's lucky because it's Halloween, so she just is like, this is my costume, haha. And it's, the whole book is like a journey of her trying to take it off and, you know, figure out what the frick is going on. And it was just so enjoyable, and I just remember being in 3rd grade and loving it so much. I don't know if anyone else remembers this. I don't know if this was like a thing in anybody else's childhood, but they used to make those like Goosebumps short films, and it always would open with like R.L. Stein in like a creepy little place, and he'd be like, wow, this is so scary. It's about a character, and it's so scary. Like, I just remember that so much. I remember thinking he was so cool. Like, I respect him so much as an author. I don't know what he's up to today, so if he somehow is like controversial, that's not really me highlighting that, because I feel like everyone's controversial now, but I don't know, I loved those books so much, and I just remember I read the book at the library from my school, and then I remember when I had finished reading it, I watched the movie. But I'm trying to remember how I watched the movie, because it wasn't like, this was like 2009, so, I mean, Netflix wasn't really a household thing for me. Do you know what? Did I watch this movie by going to the library and buying a CD? That really like hits me in my feelings, because I love that so much. We used to do that all the time. I think they might be on Netflix now, because I remember going through and watching a couple of those episodes and just thinking they're so, like, the acting is so bad. I do actually plan to make a video. I don't know how I'm gonna frame it quite yet. I want to do it like around Halloween time. In October I have a couple different like spooky ideas that I want to do. I think I have too many spooky ideas that I want to do, so I'm gonna have to kind of pick and choose carefully. I want to reread the book for the video and then rewatch that old terrible movie and just talk about them, because people never talk about them and they're like so funny to me, and I think it'd be really fun to share for a video. So that's probably gonna come in maybe September or October, just whenever that works out. Excuse me. So this next book that I have is a book that I actually have the physical copy of, and I don't even know why I have this. I think my friend gifted it to me. Well, her name is in the book, so I guess she did gift it to me. And this is such a weird and obscure book, and I don't know if anybody has ever read this before, because I've watched book videos for years. Nobody's mentioned it, but it's like one of those books that you find when you're like in like 5th or 6th grade, and it's so weird, and it's just in your school library, and you just sort of pick it up because they used to like force us to get books, and I was never a reader at all. So I just would grab whatever looked kind of cool, and this was one of those books, and I just remember I loved it so much, and I read this 2 times. I read it in, I think, 6th grade, and then I read it again in 7th grade, and I never continued on with the series. I did try to read book 2, and book 2 sucked so bad where I just never continued. I guess I've always been like this, and that is this book called Found, and I don't know if anyone's ever heard of this. I've never heard anybody talk about it. But it was this series called The Missing, and I was completely in love with this book. So basically, to give you a pitch of this book, it starts out and there's this airplane that's about to land, and then as it's landing, it's like in the point of view of like this woman who works at the airport, or like air traffic person, and suddenly off of the radars and out of the sky, the airplane is completely gone. A couple minutes later, the plane appears back in the sky and it lands down, and you know, everyone's freaking out. This plane was in the sky, it completely disappeared. They rush inside, and inside there's just babies everywhere. This plane that was supposedly like empty is now full of a bunch of freaking babies, and everyone's like, what the frick is going on? So like, it was like one of those things that kind of got covered up by the government, and it was just sort of like, okay, like whatever, right? And so since we have like a bunch of freaking babies that are just randomly here, they, you know, put them in the adoption system or in the foster care system or whatever, and the book takes place like 12 or 13 years later, and most of these kids have been adopted and they're like in middle school now. Our main character's name is Jonah, and his sister's name I think is Catherine, and I think that they have a friend named Chip. I don't remember how they come across this mystery, but they start to try and figure things out. It's later led that they've been adopted, and then we find out that they're one of these kids that were called the Missing, and they start to try to uncover this mystery that's been covered up. And it turns out to be so interesting because I'm gonna spoil the ending of it for you. Hope you don't mind. If you want to pick this up, you can go ahead and do that, but I'm just gonna tell you what goes down in the end. These kids are called like the Missing, which basically means they're kids throughout time. I think in the second book, their friend Chip was like a king or something, or like a prince, so they go back to like the medieval times. It kind of reminds me of Magical Treehouse, which I'm just now remembering, but it was cool because it was like, this kid is a prince and we've known him, but he somehow time traveled and turned into a baby, and it's weirdly explained, but when you actually read it, it turns out to be really interesting. But man, that second book was just so bad. I think the funniest thing about this book is probably the cover, because this is such a 2008 cover, like just a blurry shot of some teenagers running in the forest. That is like so weird and bad. Like, it's so bad. It like literally looks like a picture that I took on accident on my phone earlier. And this book does remind me of like being in like 5th and 6th grade and like, you know, having a lot of fun reading it, and it being one of those stories where you're just thrown into it and you're just enthralled in what's going on. And I loved it a lot. It was a lot of fun. So I do recommend this. I don't know how it holds up though. And the final book that I'm going to talk about, you might think I'm a hypocrite because I just made a video about why these books went down the toilet, but obviously the Divergent series, mostly the first book I think, but partially the second book as well. The third book can joke. But I love the Divergent books a whole lot, okay? I know that I just made a video saying that they're really bad, but the movies were really bad. But the first book was so fun, and this was the book that like opened the gateway to a lot of different things for me. Because of it, I sort of found the online book community, which played a big part in my life for many, many years. And it was just a lot of fun, and I do look at them very fondly. I have not reread Divergent since 2014, right before the movie came out, so I couldn't tell you how it holds up or how my feelings are now, but regardless of how it's aged, I don't know, I'll always look at it very fondly, and I'll always enjoy those stories a whole lot. In that video, I never really talked about the first movie because I loved it a whole lot. I'm gonna adjust this, hope you don't mind, but I'm not gonna cut it because I'm not good at making videos. But I recently re-put the Divergent soundtrack on my phone. It's so good. Like, it's so good. Listen to this beating heart. Oh my gosh, I just remember I bought so many songs on here. One of my favorite sucky songs on this one is called I Won't Let You Go by Snow Patrol. I just remember I thought this was so good when I first listened to it, but now I'm like, this is objectively terrible. Like, that is objectively terrible, and I just remember being like, that, it is so good. And I also, this isn't related, but I put the old Hunger Games soundtrack. I only liked the Catching Fire soundtrack because of this song. Do y'all remember Atlas? It's like literally not even on the iTunes library anymore. I searched it and it wasn't there. But this song is spectacular, and when I listen to it, it makes me want to cry. Y'all remember this song? I'll carry you up. Now we're gonna move on to TV. Let's do it, y'all. I only have one TV show, and for some reason I have a song in the TV category. And this is a little bit serious, so maybe we should talk in a more somber voice and cut back the editing a little bit. Start the video with like me reaching over and being like, hey guys. This show that I'm going to talk about is kind of obscure just based on the timeline of things, but for some reason, when I think of this TV show, and maybe not even this TV show, but just sort of what was going on in the background while I was watching, holds like such a very weirdly emotional place in my heart, and I don't know why. I guess I'll say what the show is. It's American Horror Story, and specifically the Coven season. I am a big fan of all of the seasons, but Coven in particular is the one that I'm going to be talking talking about. And you might be like, oh, Coven came out when? Like 2013, 2014, so you maybe watched it a couple years ago. No, I watched Coven in October, so not really at all, right? Like, that was like, what, like 6 months ago, 7 months ago? That's weird to think about, but it wasn't that long ago at all. I watched it at the end of September and sort of early October, and what was going on at that point in my life was a lot of passion, I think, because September was when I started to plot out my book, or re-plot out my book that I was gonna be writing for NaNoWriMo. So when I plot out a book, or when I write a book, I'm like deep into it. I listen to the music that I have in my playlists a lot. I sort of begin to pin things and look at pictures and listen to things that inspire me, and it really changes the way that I look at life. And I think the reason why it feels so nostalgic to me was because after all of this, after October had ended and November, when I was actually writing, began, that's when everything went downhill, to be honest with you. NaNoWriMo is always a really fun thing for me, but for some reason it was not a fun thing for me last year. I think it's because I felt so like not passionate, and I didn't want to do anything. The things that I did do, I didn't like. I wasn't happy with my writing. I felt like I was wasting my time. I felt like I had messed things up. It was just a big mess, honestly, which is really upsetting. Like, when you're a writer and you know that you've messed something up that that means a lot to you, it's like really upsetting, and it's really hard. After NaNoWriMo had ended, I just remember feeling so, like, I felt like my creative well was completely dry. Like, with a lot of different things, like with my videos that I had been making at that point, and my writing, and I didn't want to be reading anymore. It just felt like there was nothing I wanted to do anymore. And on top of that too, there was a lot of other stuff, like figuring out college things, and, you know, making decisions and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I think a big part of it was that I wanted to publish my book so badly that I was going to be going to school and majoring in like English or creative writing, like getting a minor in something as well, with a focus on getting a book published. So there's a lot of pressure on that, and so I think because, you know, I was putting a lot of pressure on that, I think when I wasn't wanting to do it and I felt uninspired, I was like, well, great, you know, I don't feel inspired, and now here I am, and this is gonna be my job someday. I just remember I was feeling like, not sad, not like a depressed thing, but definitely like a not super motivated to do the things that I wanted to do. I didn't want to make videos. The videos I did make, I just was so down, because, to be honest with you, and I'll be embarrassed to say this because I've never been a person that's like this, but I just think that my vision sort of got swayed a bit by what some people had said to me and some very unfortunate things that had happened to me. I was definitely holding back with my videos a lot and sort of doing things I didn't want to do and saying things I didn't want to say just because people had said like really mean things to me, and I was very hurt by some of those things, and I didn't know what my action plan was, and I think because of that I sort of just flailed around for a long time, which is I think why my channel sort of plateaued for a little while. And I think I'm coming out of that, luckily, just because it was a bad headspace and it was really bad. What I realized I had been doing was like, some of my favorite videos to make are review videos. Like, that's just what I love to do. I love going in depth on things that don't matter, being overly critical and nitpicking. Like, to me that is really funny. And I know that some people are like, it doesn't matter that this random line in the book said this, but like, to me that's funny, to like, this random thing that has nothing to do with anything, like, that's dumb. Like, that's just so funny to me. You know, that's how I always frame my videos, because I find it so funny. But I just feel like the things I wanted to do didn't really fit with the booktube community. The way the booktube reviews things, to be completely honest with you, isn't my favorite, and a lot of people like were shaming me for the types of videos I was making, which is totally fine, and I think some of it was valid. But I remember I heard several different people say, like, people said it to my face, and I also saw other people sort of mention it in other places, that like, people who make negative reviews, they're never gonna get their book published, or they'll never be successful in publishing because they're burning down all of their bridges with, you know, other authors and other publishers and things like that. And I just remember for a couple of months there, I sort of pulled back on making those videos. I privated some videos that I had said things I don't want people to find out that I said someday. And although I don't think I held back in any of my criticisms, I didn't lie about not liking any books at that point, but I definitely did sort of sugarcoat some things. I just had this very self-reflective moment a while back where I just realized, like, I would rather lose everything. You know, like, I'd rather lose every opportunity that I've ever had. I'd rather my dreams completely fail and everybody in the publishing world despise me than not be honest. That's it. You know, like, you can be like, Caleb, you're gonna post this video about Zenith, or you're gonna post this video about the Divergent series going down the toilet, and no one is ever going to want to be your friend, because Veronica Roth is a big name in the publishing world, and when she finds out about that, like, she's not going to like that, and you're going to be, like, blackballed by different people in the publishing industry. And honestly, bring it on. Like, not like square up, Veronica. No, I'm kidding, but you know what I mean? Like, I'd rather be honest, you know? And if people can't take that, and I'm not welcome in the community because that's how I want to live my life, then bye. You know what I mean? So I'm very happy that I've come across that. But when I was sort of in my lost state of mind and being confused about things, not being completely sure about what my path was gonna be, I just remember just looking back at that October timeline. I guess I haven't really talked about why it's nostalgic, which is my bad because I'm bad at making videos, but I just remember, oh, hi puppy. Look at my puppy. He's here. He's here. Oh, I brought his dog bed in here, and he really appreciates it, and I think it's really cute, and I love him a whole lot. He's very sleepy. We went on a long walk today. He really has enjoyed the sun and being able to, you know, run around outside. Very cute. Anyways, back to nostalgia. The reason why Coven is so nostalgic to me is because it sort of highlighted this period of time when I was so inspired, right? I was thinking about my dreams coming true and being so passionate and happy and writing because I wanted to, not because I had to. Something about Coven is they brought Stevie Nicks in, and she sang a couple of songs. Like, she did Rhiannon on that piano, and I just remember the first time that I watched her on there, I was like, why are we doing, like, I remember I thought it was so stupid from, like, a media reviewing perspective, where I was like, we stopped all of the action and we just literally sat here with all our characters, like, watching a musical interlude for like 5 minutes. I thought it was ridiculous. But I remember in like December, when I was sort of at like my peak slump of life, I just remember looking back. I remember I listened to that song and I like remember like tearing up and just missing that magical time, you know, and just looking back very fondly. It's a really, really great cover. If you haven't heard it, maybe I'll play some of it for you now, because I like to get copyrighted and I like to just live in constant fear that my videos are gonna get taken down. Would you ever win? Oh my gosh, it makes me want to cry. Cause like something about that too was like my dog was still a puppy, so like we would go on a daily walk, and it was like still fall, which is my favorite season. So like we would go on walks, and I'd like wear my little coat, and you know, have my pumpkin spice, and I would have like a candle going, and it was like such a fun time in my heart. And when that all sort of, you know, came to an end, it was like just very upsetting, and I think it just happened very quickly, where I was like kind of clinging to things that reminded me of that time. There is a song in the TV category because I'm really bad at making videos, but I guess this is also sort of on timeline with what I'm talking about, and that's Infections of a Different Kind by Aurora. I don't know if you've heard this album before, but it's truthfully magical. It is so very good. There are some duds, Churchyard being one. I don't even know the last time I feel like I listened to that song once and I've just never listened to it again. The song on this album that makes me want to cry the most, I would say, is probably Infections of a Different Kind, which is the song, not the album. The ending of Infections of a Different Kind, when she starts going to that thing where she's like, ha, 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 you know what I mean? She goes like, ah, and then it goes, ha, he. Like when I remember I've tried to describe this before, but people just think I'm weird, but it sort of goes, ah, 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 he. and it like leads into Gentle Earthquake. I'll play it for you if you think I'm a psychopath. Okay, y'all ready? She goes, and after this she goes, ha-hee. Ready? 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 Ha-hee. Y'all hear that? Ha-hee. It's so beautiful. Like that last minute of the song will like literally send just chills down my entire body. And I guess related to that a little bit, the next thing that gives me nostalgia is NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month, which I guess a lot of people don't know that. It's National Novel Writing Month. You have to write 50,000 words in the month. It's like a fun little community thing. This event gives me a lot of nostalgia, and I'm so excited for NaNoWriMo 2019. It's gonna be my 6th year of doing it, which is really crazy, but I'm really excited. And I'm gonna be in college for the first time when, you know, this is gonna be my first time at college during NaNoWriMo, so I'm a little bit nervous because I don't know what my work schedule is gonna be like and how it's gonna play into things. I don't imagine this year is gonna be a year where I win on day 10, but it'll probably not be like that, but I'm just hoping I can, you know, win. But also, the good thing is there's like a Thanksgiving break in there, so if I can't pull in those words, at least I have a little bit of a break for a couple of days. But anyways, NaNoWriMo brings me so much nostalgia because it is in the fall, and I love October, November, like right before it snows, so it's like nice and like, you know, the leaves have fallen. My favorite weather is like where you just wear a sweater and some boots and like, oh, I miss it. It's like my favorite. And it does get to a point where I'm like, boo. And right now I'm living in the summer. I have so much fun. But I love fall fashion. I love shopping for new clothes. Like, I don't know why, but in the fall I just buy so many clothes. Like more than any other season, which is weird. And also one of my favorite things is like the community of writing and doing word sprints and, you know, talking about your writing with other friends and stuff. And I just love it so much. And if you haven't participated and you're a writer, I highly suggest checking it out or just trying it, and it's really fun. And I'm so excited this year because I'm not gonna do the thing where I'm gonna put a ton of pressure on myself and I'm gonna sort of abandon the project I've been working on since 2015 just to give myself a break. I will come back to it eventually, but I just think I need some time to be away from it and work on some other things and just develop myself as a writer. That's what's important to me right now. Is like, I don't want to get anything published. I just want to write for fun and sort of develop my skills, you know? I have a musical category, but I don't know if I'm going to share it on here because it's like, I don't know, it's nothing super interesting. I don't think I have melodrama. I'll just sort of do bullet points. I have melodrama. I love that one, and obviously by Lorde. That was a summer of 2017 thing where it was like a big thing. It did sort of sizzle out near the end just because I listened to her music exclusively for like a year and a half. That sort of like killed off that for me, but I do love that album a whole lot. I can't wait for her to come back, but I know that probably won't happen for like 5 years, which is unfortunate. Up next, How Big, How Blue, How Beautiful by Florence and the Machine. This is my favorite album of all time, and definitely my favorite Florence and the Machine album. My favorites from this album are Caught, and How Big, How Blue, and Ship to Wreck, and Hiding. Did I say that? I don't know, but I love all of them. They're so great. Various Storms and Saints literally gets me every time, but it's great. And I also have High as Hope on here. My favorites from that are probably The End of Love. I've recently really been digging Patricia, and there's another one that's not coming to mind. No Choir. Ooh, gets me in my feelings, and June is one of my favorites as well. And that's all the nostalgia. I'm kind of picking this up because my battery's dying, and it takes like an absurd amount of time to charge, and I only have one battery because my other one stopped working for some reason, which is the most frustrating thing when you make long videos like me, because you have to wait 2 hours before you can continue, which is sometimes while you'll notice in my videos the setting will completely change because I'm just terrible at making videos. Now that we've reached the end, shall we talk about what is coming up next for my YouTube channel, and the ideas that I have, and how that's gonna be going down. I don't know if you've noticed this, but I have taken a little bit of a break from making videos. It's been, at this point, it's been 2 weeks, and I'll probably post my next video early next week, so about 3 weeks, which is not that long, I guess, but in my head it's been a very long time, because I haven't worked on anything at all. I mean, I've written some things out, but I haven't done tons of research like I typically do, so it sort of felt like I've been taking a break like a lot longer than I normally do, because like I'm always working on something, but I guess I haven't been doing that lately because I've been doing finals, and then I was on vacation, and I was doing all this stuff, so that's definitely taken up a lot of time, and I don't know, it's just a lot. But up next, it's a video that I was originally going to do on Patreon. It was one of the ideas that I had written down in the poll, but as I started to flesh out the idea, I thought it'd be a really funny main channel video, and I have a lot of ideas for it, and I don't know how people are going to like it, but I think it's really funny so far, and it's, basically the idea is just a list of what I want to happen in Handbook for Mortals 2. I don't know if anybody understands what that means, but basically it's like a mixture of things. It's more of like a plot, like bullet points of what I want to happen, like in narrative order, like this happens in this, and sort of the joke is that I just want her to steal my ideas and put it in the book, and I like designed a book cover, and I'm so excited. I have a lot of fun ideas for it. That'll probably be next. I still have to sort of finish out my plot, but I'm really excited for that. And then after that, I plan on doing a book review, bad book reading, and the book that it will be on. Should I say what the book is? Because I don't want anyone to steal it, but I guess it'll probably be posted in like a week or two, so I feel like that's like a very ballsy thing to quickly buy a book, quickly read it, and then quickly review it before me, which is bogus, but I guess I'll just say it, because I guess I did post about it, but The Cellar, which is a really bad Wattpad book that got published a few years ago, and I finished it the other night, and it's really, really funny, and I've actually, I'm going to be doing that review a lot differently than I've done for my other reviews, because I normally, when I would do a book review, I would put a sticky note where I want to like remember a scene. This time I actually highlighted the text I want to read, and I think it's going to be a lot more fluid of an experience instead of me like backtracking and explaining things. And that book is really funny, so I have a lot of fun jokes planned, and I hope it's really good. I hope it turns out good. I'm hoping I can get those two videos up pretty close together. I'm gonna be trying to film maybe at the end of this week, do both of those videos so that I can try to get those out as quickly as possible. Then after that, it's completely subjective about what's gonna go on from there, because I have a lot of ideas, and I know in my last Ramble video I was like, I didn't know what was going on. I was like, maybe I'll do a Divergent video, which I did, so I guess I didn't lie, but I do have a longer list of what I want to do, but it's still unclear as to when that's going to happen and how I'm going to be able to get it up in a timely manner. An idea that I have that I want to do maybe in the summer is sort of similar to my Divergent video. I know that a lot of, it got a lot of views, so I don't want it to seem like I'm just, you know, trying to do the exact same thing, but I really did want to do this video for a while. It's sort of in the same vein as the Divergent video, except for the Hunger Games, except why the Hunger Games movies are really good, in my opinion. But also, it's really interesting because the last Hunger Games movie, like, didn't make that much money. It dipped out a lot, and not a lot of people loved it, so I think that's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be like why the Hunger Games movies rock, or didn't go down the toilet, I guess, to keep on brand, but yeah, that's something I want to do eventually. I know I mentioned an Air Bud video in my last Ramble video, but I don't know when that's gonna actually happen. I'm hoping by the end of the summer. My only thing right now is I have so many ideas for it and so many jokes planned, and there's gonna be lots of different segments, and it's gonna be a very long video coming from me. It's a thing, by the way, but I have so many ideas, so it'll probably be like an hour-long video, and I want it to be the best that it can possibly be, so I'm thinking about getting Final Cut Pro and trying to learn that, and then maybe doing the Air Bud video on that new editing software, but I also want to get a new computer because the computer I use sucks, and I've had it since 2012, and it's honestly slowly dying, and I desperately need a new computer, and I'm saving up, so it's kind of nice to have a platform with extra people supporting, so thank you, but I'm trying to save up because I feel like it'll be easier to edit on a laptop, and also, like, I would love to have a little laptop just for editing. I don't want to mess up that Airbud video, so, and I also want it to succeed. I know it's a very niche thing, and maybe it's not for everybody, but I'm so excited for it. I think it's going to be really funny. But after that, I don't know what's going on. I debated doing a Twilight video, but I feel like everybody's done that, so I sort of wrote that out. But after that, I don't really know what's going on. That's probably like a month or two of videos, yeah, from there I don't know what's gonna go on, so yay! Okay, so my camera decided that it wanted to be dead, and I don't have any more batteries to charge it. Maybe I should use my Patreon money to buy a new battery. Life sucks, you know? I have so many things I need to get. I need to get a new battery, but I've put off doing that for like 2 or 3 years, so maybe not. Maybe that's not important. But I also want to get a new laptop, which is gonna be like a lot of freaking money, which is scaring me. But I guess make sure to subscribe. And also I want to get Final Cut, which is like $300, which is obscure. And so I guess I'd have to wait to get my new laptop before I bought that. Which is like 3 big purchases, and also I want to get a new microphone. Yeah, so if you like that and you want to give me your money, I'm trying to pay for college, and also I need, like, I'm about to blow my entire bank account because I need a laptop. Maybe I should just crowdfund. What do y'all think about that? Thanks for pledging in May. I hope to see you again in June. If you can't be here for June, thank you so much for joining me in May. I had so much fun talking with you guys and sharing things. Sorry that this month was a little bit light. Anyways, I'm done rambling. Am I ever done rambling? That's the question. I'll see you in June. Bye.